I have a million questions that I'm asked all the time about being an entrepreneur. What's it like, and is it scary being an entrepreneur, and how did you get started? And there's a million questions people want to ask you. And I thought to myself, bang, one day, wouldn't it be great to have an entrepreneur's masterclass where I can bring some of these unbelievable people, people like we read about them and we read their stories. They're legendary, but we only see them on film and we have visualizations of what they are. But actually to sit down with them and talk to them, I thought, wouldn't that be a wonderful way to learn? Nothing's new. I remember watching the old actor classes several years ago, how they visualized and how they created their careers and how they just kept getting better and better. And I thought to myself at that time, what a wonderful way for a young person to learn the craft directly from the old guys. I thought it was a very elegant way to teach. Well, our guest today is one of the best role models on this planet for us entrepreneurs for so many reasons. He's a two-time best-selling author, an award-winning entrepreneur, 5-time Canadian rowing champion, and a notable philanthropist. David Patchell Evans is known to millions as simply Patch. Patch is the founder and CEO of Good Life Fitness, Canada's largest fitness club chain and the 4th largest in the world. And it is the largest that is still owned by a single owner. Well, Patch and Good Life have received over 25 national and international awards, including the International Iconic Brand Award, one of Canada's Best Managed Companies Award, Canada's Best Gym, and Canada's Most Admired CEO. In 2012, Patch received an honorary Doctor of Laws from Western University. And a little birdie told me that in 2020, Patch is going to be inducted into the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. Well, back in 2007, Patch was further awarded the Medal of Honor by the Canadian Medical Association for his passionate support of autism research and the founding of the Kylie Patchell Evans Autism Research Group. Patch opened his first gym in London, Ontario back in 1979. And I've told you this size is over 400 Good Life Fitness clubs, Fit for Less, and Echo Fitness clubs across Canada. With his 1.5 million members and over 11,000 associates, Good Life helps to transform the health and wellness of 1 in 25 Canadians every day. Now, to conduct and help me conduct this interview, I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Tim Rishalti, who's going to tell you a bit more about Patch's background and also ask him some very stimulating questions so he can share his secrets of entrepreneurial success with you today. Tim, thanks for facilitating. Over to you. I'm going to sit back and listen and learn.
Thanks so much, Peter and Patch. It's great to be with you today and really looking forward to diving into the background that Peter's just provided us about you and a lot of the lessons learned along the way. And one of the things that I think would be great to hear from your own perspective is, relative to entrepreneurship, when did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
I figured that out in my teens because my father actually died in front of me when I was almost 8 years old in a car accident. So my mother had to raise 3 boys. We were broke. And so I started working paper routes and jobs in drugstores when I was 11 and did all these different jobs you can imagine, like 30 hours a week. By the time I was, 14, 15, I knew that I just couldn't get what I wanted out of life working for the hour, by the hour. The simple thing I discovered when I had paper routes, I went from 1 paper route to 5 paper routes, is what most people hate doing is going door to door, selling someone and buying and collecting the money. So I hired a bunch of guys to deliver my papers, and that's what I did. And so that led to, in my teens, booking rock bands. I'd have the normal jobs, but I'd have these entrepreneurial jobs. And then when I went to university, I started a snowplow business so I could work at night while I went to school and when I rode in the summertime. And, I found a way to make more money from snowplowing than most people did, just different ways to do it. And my idea always was, how do you become effective and efficient and help other people make lots of money? Because if you help them make lots of money, then you'll make lots of money. So that's how it started.
It sounds as if you recognize that you almost became an entrepreneur, it sounds like, out of necessity. Is that fair to say?
I was the oldest boy in the family, and when your parent dies and everybody comes to the funeral and they say, okay, it's up to you. You know, you're the guy that has to do it. You're the man of the family now. You know, that gets into your subconscious. And so it drives you.
When you were in the snowplow business and you were recognizing how to, become efficient and effective at your work, and recognizing the need to, I can help other people make a lot of money, I then can make a lot of money in the businesses that I'm engaged in. Was it at that time that you knew you were going to be successful as an entrepreneur?
I basically started the snowplow business so I could row. Right, so I had a bad motorcycle accident in first year university, and I destroyed the right side of my body. And I was got classified as permanently disabled. But I started to go to the physiotherapy clinic, started at half an hour a day, got up to 4 hours a day. And when the insurance claim came saying I would get paid for being permanently disabled, I was able to say, well, what if I'm not disabled anymore? That was about 6 months later, right? And it showed me the difference that fitness could make for you. And so I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. So I switched from my general program that was going to lead me to the business school into physical education, kinesiology. I thought, I'm going to get a skill. I had a feeling I could do business, but I wanted a skill, because business is a lot about aptitude. And, what I needed is aptitude and attitude, but what I needed was a skill that I could leverage those two things. And so a knowledge of physical fitness was that skill. And in my business, I'm probably one of the only owners of more than 3 or 4 clubs in the world with a degree in kinesiology phys ed. Like, kind of weird, right? But so that's helped me a lot. But because my right side of my body was twisted like 3 or 4 inches lower than the other side, I took up rowing on the right side, called port, to build my body up. And then I fell in love with rowing and really liked it. And becoming a good rower eventually drove my taking kinesiology at university, and made me believe that I could actually help other people. But so I traded that motorcycle in on a deposit on a Jeep, with an old 20-year-old Jeep with an old snowplow. And I thought, okay, if I make money in the winter, I can row in the summer. So I started with 1 Jeep and got up to 5 Jeeps by the time I was doing my master's. And I had I think back in 1976, 1977, I was making $70,000 a year back then, snowplowing, and taking the rest of the year off. Now, it did mean that when it snowed, I worked 24/7. So, then I paid my guys really well, so they would work really hard. And I found a way to take these Jeeps and do little lots that people needed done with 10, 20 cars. You could charge almost as much as a big lot. You could do a lot of little lots in an hour. And that's how I made so much money. So that taught me, find a hole in the market, find something that somebody else isn't thinking of, and work on that. And when the national rowing team said you should work out at a fitness club, I was working at this fitness club, and the hole in the market I found there was that the people working in the fitness club, they only thought about how much money they were making. They didn't think about changing people's lives. They didn't think about getting people in better shape. They didn't think about helping people, making people live longer. Now, I was going there because the national rowing team said I should, but I would ask the guy questions all the time. And he goes, you asked me so many damn questions, why don't you buy this business? I said, what do you mean? He says, I'm going into business. So I went to rowing practice, bought a case of beer on the way home from rowing practice, came in, got in there about 9 o'clock at night. We drank the beer, and I signed the paperwork, and I opened the club the next day. I was the owner, right? So it was like, take all the risks all the time. Now, the other half of that coin was, a week later, I was supposed to go down to Florida. I'm in Canada. I was supposed to go down to Florida and train with the national rowing team for the Pan Ams. So I had to risk that for my entrepreneurial dream. I had to put everything on the line. Every dollar I had, all I've been doing for this opportunity that wouldn't be there. So, it's about, when the opportunity presents itself, you have to be ready.
How do you think you got ready for that?
Well, I'd already found the thing that I love to do. You know, I really love to help people with their fitness. I really love that. My life got changed that way, from being disabled to being capable, you know, to go out on the national rowing team. So I thought I could do that for other people. And I had this inside desire to help people, you know, the way I'd been helped by people. And so the love, the goal, what I wanted to do was already there. So I think people should always have in their mind, what do they love? What do they like doing? What would you do for free? So I've been doing a job all my life that I would do for free. You know, that's what I care about. You know, yes, there's always times you're going, I hate this part of the job, right? But I still get to do what I want to do. And I get to direct my life, and I'm doing what I want to do. You know, so I think that's one of the key things, is to constantly look at yourself. What do I like doing? You know, and so that's where I think you have to start. And I think that can start at every age. They should teach this in school. You know, what turns your crank? What gets you excited? You know, what would you do if no one told you to do it? You know, is it a sport? Is it a game? You know, that kind of stuff, right? And how can you turn that into a career? How can you turn that into a passion? You know, so my passion was helping people, and then I figured out how to do the business part.
So walk us through a little bit of that business part. So you drank the beer, you signed the papers, you own the gym, and somewhere along the way, you turn that gym into multiple gyms, and you start winning all these awards, get recognized for your effectiveness, certainly your business acumen to grow a business, but probably still grounded on individually helping people get better.
You know, you got two groups you need to worry about: your customer and your staff. And how can you make them both succeed? And if that's your focus, you'll be okay, right? But you know, I bought that first club in the snowplowing business. I would be driving around all the time. I'd see these for sale signs for houses. And if I saw an ugly house, I would look into it, right? And I would notice it because the snow would be piled so high, right? So every year I'd buy a house and I'd sell a house and make a little bit of money, right? Well, had a house that I was living in. You know, I was almost 25. I had my own house, a whole ball of wax. I sold that house to get money to keep running the business. I leveraged my snowplow business, keep running the business. I did nothing but lose money for the first 2 years, while I tried to learn how to do it, right? So one of my big lessons would be is, you know, you got to expect, since most businesses fail, you got to expect there's going to be a learning curve. And if it was really easy, anybody could do it. Well, it's not really easy. Don't let anybody tell you there's an easy business out there. You know, you got to acquire a set of skills. You got to do things differently. You got to work harder. You have to be more persistent. And so, you know, everything I had, emotionally, financially, my friends, was into that business until I finally figured it out how to do it, right? And what I had to figure out was how to sell fitness so people believed in themselves. So that was the key, is to make people believe they could do it and then get them to do it. So take the skill I had as a coach, as an athlete, in my background in academics, and translate that into someone's head, making them believe in themselves. That was the key to turning it around. So then I think every time I'd get my own house again, I'd have a chance to build another club, and I'd sell it to get the money. So I know I sold my own house 5 times at least to keep building the business. And I would just keep risking everything over and over again to keep going, you know. And there was lots of step backs. You know, interest rates were 24% in the late 70s. You know, unemployment was high. You know, what I figured is the majority of people are employed. And so let's get them into your club. And then how do you have the best fitness classes? How do you have the best weight training? How do you have the highest level of cleanliness? Every edge I could that way, you know. And so that translates into how do you help the members, and then how do you help the staff? So the awards that we're talking about, you know, like Entrepreneur of the Year, Canadian Business Hall of Fame, top 50 best managed companies. The 50 best managed companies is the one I'm the most proud of. You know, we've been in the top 50 best managed companies in Canada for, I think, like 20 plus years. That has got nothing to do with me, the entrepreneur. It's got everything to do with the space and the opportunity my staff have to be great. You know, so what people know about me is I have almost zero turnover at the upper level. People start with me and they stay. And so creating that opportunity for people to fill their passion the way my passion's been filled, I think is one of the keys of all that success. It's like you work with a team, and you know, and team stands for together, everyone achieves more. So that's really been my attitude. And that attitude comes from rowing. You know, you can only win the race with other people. And even if you're racing by yourself, the race only has significance if your competitor is good. So it's all about competition. You know, I'm highly competitive, but I like the competition. I like my competitors. You know, that's been one of the secrets to my success, is having a relationship with a lot of different people.
Talk a little bit about the mentors and advisors that maybe you've had that helped you advance the company, and especially on those setbacks, helped you kind of regroup and refocus and move forward over the years.
There was a lot of neat people. Like, for instance, I was lucky enough to run into an accountant named Bill Shanks, who just recently passed away, but he was like the numbers guy, and I wasn't the numbers focused. So his strength helped me enormously, and his patience teach me all the way till I became really good at it. Then I got a lawyer, Henry Berg, who was like just so straight, so smart, and so down to earth that people like to work with him. And it wasn't about who wins, it's about how do we do it together. And then, you know, I actually went through a succession of banks. So I'd have good bank managers, but they don't always agree with the fact that I kept growing and growing and growing. And so I'd have to sometimes switch banks. But I had my old rowing coach, Stock Fitzjames, was a good mentor when I was a oarsman, because they believed in my capabilities and my possibilities. And not having a father figure at all, that made a difference, right? And then I was lucky enough, my first year in business, to meet a lady named Betty Millette, who's a real estate agent, who sold that house for me. Because I was in the practice of selling my houses on my own. And I had a big piece of plywood, 2 pieces of plywood like this together on the front lawn, house for sale, right? And because I wasn't afraid to sell. And she said, look, I can sell your house for more money. Why don't you hire me? I said, okay, tell me, you sell this house for more money, and I'll buy my next house from you. So she has done well by me buying houses. However, I've been in business about 8 years, and I got embezzled big time. And one of the people that believed in me and loaned me the money that I needed to get through it was Betty Millette. So, you know, Betty and I used to get together every 2 or 3 weeks, and, you know, she was a CA and an MBA, but she didn't tell anybody because, you know, 30 years ago, it wasn't that common for women to know all that stuff. So she just kept it on the low, and she was the top selling real estate person in London, Ontario. That's where my home base was. And so we had a great relationship. We still do, right? So it's those kind of relationships. And then I got to know the key people that sell fitness equipment. And there's a guy named Augie Nito who runs a thing called Augie's Quest now, because he has owls. And he and I struck up a relationship way back in 1980 that we still have, you know. So he would sell me equipment on credit, which nobody would do back then, because he just trusted me. You know, and I'd order $1 million, $2 million equipment over the phone, and we wouldn't sign any paperwork. It would just come, right? And, you know, and then relationships with some landlords were pivotal, you know, guys that would just trust you. And so not all relationships will work out, but if you have an attitude that they will. And one of the things I teach all my staff is the attitude of caring. So the idea is when you look at someone, have an intention before you meet them is to care about them. Like, decide before you meet them, you're going to care about them. And that changes your body language. It changes your attitude, and people sense, okay, for some reason I trust this person. So if you give trust, you get trust back in it, you know. So some people don't pick up that on the radar, but a lot of good people do. You know, so, you know, I had a business group of friends in the industry. We call it a round table, you know, for 20 plus years, where we share ideas and that kind of stuff. So all those things, bring them together. So, and I try to go to different industries and learn stuff. Like a lot of charitable stuff I would be on the boards of. Advertising and sales I would be on the boards of. So that kind of mentors you, right? And I've had bad arthritis since I was in my 30s. So they got me involved in the world of arthritis. Then my daughter was diagnosed with autism when she was almost 3. She's 24 now. So I got deep into that world and had to learn how to work with autism, with that kind of stuff, and how to help her. All those different relationships help you.
As you think back over the journey and as you think about what's ahead of you, did you contemplate the markets at all as you're thinking about whether it be the next house buy or the next house sale or the next gym or the next opening? Were you looking at the markets or were you just looking at the fundamentals of we've got a product that's viable that is valuable for individuals and we're going to move forward with that product regardless of the markets? You know, are there any market or macro indicators that are important to you as you think about your business or anything like that you work through?
I give people fitness. I sell people fitness. I try to keep people doing fitness. You know, that's not going to go away. You know, I consider that recession proof because no one wants to die early. Everyone wants to have energy and vitality, right? But if they're pressured between that and eating, which one's going to win, right? So it isn't between that and eating, it's between everything in between. So I have to show you that the quality of your life is more important than the car you drive, than the house you live in, than the clothes you wear, right? I have to show you the only way you can get that quality of life is through working out, and ideally with me. But even if I have a book called Living the Good Life that we give a copy of for free to everybody, right? So if you don't join our club, I'm hoping that you'll read the book and at least exercise. And sometimes it takes people 5 years before they come back. But it's okay. At least I'm doing my original intention, which is to help them, right? And but then I do look at conditions like, okay, you know, don't go lease a whole bunch of places when the market's hot, because you're going to be paying a premium when it's low, right? Wait, you know, hold off a little bit, right? If you're in your business and interest rates are high, don't sign up for long term. Figure out a way to make money as quick as you can and pay that down as quick as you can. You know, don't not go into business because the interest rates are high, but don't get so exposed that there's no win. You know, it's like having a mortgage that's open. Right? Okay, I got to buy this house, I got to live here, but as soon as I can, I'm paying this off, right? Or paying this down or something like that. You know, watch the macro trends. Watch what goes on in the world. You know, don't be isolated to your town or your state or your country. Get a picture of what's going on. And that picture also gives you insight into trends. You know, what's new in France? What's new in Vietnam? You know, what ideas can I steal, appropriate, make the best of right here, right? Because no one comes up with all the ideas. You know, my job is to create some of the ideas, but even more importantly is to take any good idea, put my spin on it and improve it, right? And, you know, because no one's going to invent, in my case, you know, all the hot fitness trends aren't going to come from London, Ontario. You know, so where do you get these ideas? Where do you find the right people? You know, where does genius reside and how do you work with it? And, you know, and look at what the economists and the finance ministers of respective countries will give you signals about what they're going to do. And they do press releases into the paper. Just read the paper. That's probably the most important advice I can give someone is read the paper. Read the business section, because the business section is like a novel. You know, it tells you what's going on. You know, that awareness makes such a huge difference.
the power of an entrepreneurial mindset to win, to have the fortitude and the ability to focus on how to succeed. Can you talk a little bit about your mindset?
It's not something you're born with. It's a decision. Optimism is a decision. It's like, I can choose to be sad about being poor, or I can choose to do something about it, right? And I can choose to complain about the fact that I'm working 24 hours a day, or I can figure out how do I make as much money as possible and get some time off later. So I'm going to choose to look at the biggest advantage. That doesn't mean that I don't get beat up sometimes, right? Doesn't mean you don't roller coaster. But what I have to keep in mind is when I'm roller coastering is when I'm in a trough, like in the trough of a wave, there's also a crest, right? So for every up, there's a down, but I'm going to have more ups and downs, right? And even the downs are going to get less dramatic, right? And so the key is to think, what can I do? When I got arthritis when I was 32, was what they call instant onset arthritis. Woke up in the morning and I had just competed in the World Masters Championships. I woke up the next morning, I couldn't even open the doorknob. Could barely walk on my feet. They'd gotten as big as watermelons. My elbows were sticking out like 6 inches high, and just, my neck was just like this. Couldn't turn my neck for 3 years. And so for the first 6 weeks, I kind of like, what's going on, right? And then I came up with a slogan for myself: is don't let the things you can do stop. No, don't let the things you can't do stop you from doing the things that can. So here I'm Mr. Fitness, right? And I go into my club and I can't lift any weights. And so I was on a machine called a shoulder press where you have to press it up, right? And I used to be strong in this piece of equipment. I used to be able to press the whole thing. And this guy comes in, and I knew him because when I was in university, we'd worked as waiters and bouncers at the same bar. And he comes in, he looks at me, he says, "Patch, what happened to you? Like, you're so weak." And I got mad at him, right? I said, "Hey, you, get over here." He says, "What do you mean? You're going to spot me." I said, "Spot you? You're doing 5 pounds." I said, "Yeah, but it's hard 5 pounds for me." He says, "From now on, we're training partners." He says, "You can only lift 5 pounds. And I said, "I know. That's the difference between your heaviest weight and your next heaviest weight. You only need me to help with 5 pounds. So don't suck out in between." And that attitude that I'm going to do something with what I've got is what makes the difference, right? So it's like, it doesn't matter what the situation is, there is a way to succeed. And if there isn't, let it go, take everything you learn and find something new. If you buy a stock and you lose all your money on it, well, it's done, right? Go make some more money, buy another stock. But, it's like, if you spend time in the negativity, it's a waste of life, right? So we're lucky for how much time we get, and dealing with the challenges of having a daughter with severe autism, having, arthritis, and not knowing each day what I can do physically gives me a huge gift that you don't maybe get to have, because you take all this stuff for granted. But I got this gift, right? And even having been poor was a gift, because I know the difference and I know what it takes to get there. And so part of me goes, it doesn't really matter what happens to me. I'll figure this out, because I already figured it out once. Second time I'll do it even faster.
As you think about the power of that mindset, that power of that decision making, what are some of the other traits, characteristics, and learned behaviors over time that you think have enabled your success?
I think look for what's right in a scenario. And if you sense that something's wrong with the person you're dealing with, if you don't think you can have a good relationship unless you're totally stuck, get out of it. Right? Like maybe you can't, maybe you're with a landlord, you can't have a good relationship with that landlord, but you're stuck. But just don't rent from him ever again anywhere else or her, right? If you have a good relationship, build on it and expand it, and make them both win, right? But don't spend it, once you find out that something hasn't worked, don't go back there, right? Not everybody operates with the same set of values. So pick people with values that are similar to you. I think that makes a huge difference. Like I talked about my lawyer and my accountant and those other people, right? So try to surround yourself with people that are like you, right? Whether it's in sports, like in sports, you want to surround yourself with people who want to try. I don't care how good you are at sport. I care how hard you try. So that's one of the good things. And the other thing is perseverance is the #1 success criteria. There's an old saying that most people quit before they find out what they're made out of. Short of death, what's stopping you? Like, why can't you work another hour? Why can't you go a little bit harder, a little bit faster, a little bit longer? Just, it helps if you like what you're doing. If you love what you're doing, even better. But if you're just trying to feed the mouths in your family, well, yeah, you can. History is full of people that have done that, right? And so I believe that, not giving up is the #1 criteria. And then if you look at a scenario, so where's the win? And it shouldn't be win-lose with somebody else. It should be win-win. The landlord's got to make a victory. You have to make a victory. That's the idea. So I think not giving up, looking for wins with people, that you deal with, building those relationships, and following a dream. And your work might not be your dream. The end result of your work might be your dream. But your life has to have purpose. And if you have purpose in it, if you can sit back at the end of the day, okay, I fulfilled a whole bunch of that, right? Maybe not everything, but I got a lot done.
Are there certain habits that you have found successful and very beneficial for you as you continue to work hard because it was something you loved, and finding that extra hour and that extra effort and perseverance? Are there habits that you have that you follow on a regular basis?
Yeah, there is. So the #1, a big habit is curiosity. I wonder why. I wonder what if, what could happen? What could you change? Where could you go? How could you make it work? So that curiosity is a huge driver. Enthusiasm is a huge driver, right? Getting excited about stuff. Commitment is a huge driver. Like, I will do it, right? I'm going to run a marathon. I'm in, right? The ability to risk within reason, right? Those are key things that make a difference. And a willingness to believe in other people. If you're an entrepreneur, that means that you're working with other people, right? So you have to give them as much belief as you expect them to give you. And when people know that you believe in them, it raises their game. Every once in a while, someone will hurt you on purpose, or that's just the way they are. You got to let it go and focus on what's right. It's like, it's like recognizing failures. If you're going to be successful, you will have some failures, right? And you learn as much from failures or more than you do from successes. And the same applies to people. You'll have success with people and failures with people. It's not because of the people necessarily, it could be because of you, right? It's okay, what can I change in myself? That goes back to curiosity. How did I miss the boat with that person? What do I need to change? So the number one thing that I think has helped me is a desire to get better. You know, whether it's a desire to understand personalities or politics or business or autism, you know, how do I get better at it? So it's not just being curious. It's like, how do I apply the curiosity? You know, so I can't help but when I read a magazine, when I see an ad, think, how does it work? How does it help people? How does it achieve? How does it help solve a problem? You know, so if you're constantly looking at the world that way, you know, it's, you know, one of the things I appreciate most in the world is nature. So that if you look at a flower and you think about the impossibility of how beautiful a flower is, how wondrous it is that, you know, a sunset is or a bird flying. If you take the little things and are curious about how great they are, the man-made things are a lot simpler, easier to figure out. And since they're man-made, they're fixable, they're doable, they're improvable, right? They're an entrepreneurial opportunity.
Applied curiosity, you know, I don't think I've ever heard it described that way. It just caught me the way you described that, Patch, and I think it's a fantastic example as to what's needed for success, and your description around that to apply the curiosity in practice. I think it's just fascinating to hear you explain that, and just really caught me.
If you want to be an entrepreneur, what is the problem that needs to be solved? And to understand what the problem that needs to be solved is, you have to be thinking about, what are the problems? What are the opportunities? What do people need? What would make them happy, right? That's the curious part. And how do you make it work? That's the application.
Thank you so much for that. And Peter, I'm going to come to you. I know you no doubt have questions and comments at this point, Peter. I'd love to have you join in and raise those questions at this time.
One of the things that I like to do when I'm meeting people and talking to people after I've known them for a while, and like you, I've known you for some many years, I take put words on them. And since this interview started today, I've been just thinking of some words. So I'm going to just say a few words, but what I'm learning so far, if I was talking about what's Patch like, I'd say he's unstoppable, he's caring, he's unlimited, and he has common sense. And the common sense is the part that it's not so common as you and I know. It's just doesn't seem that much, but you just are so practical, you have so much common sense. So to these entrepreneurs out there who are lucky enough to hear you, Patch, to hear you live and get some wisdom from you, I'm going to dig a little deeper. And one of the things and the secrets that you've managed to find that many entrepreneurs don't, I'm going to call balance. You seem to be able to know, you've got an automatic tilt machine on you, that you, from what I can see, you if you get going too hard, you slow up. And you know, because of you've learned some disciplines because of your, you know, the arthritis, because of your daughter, the autism, and you've been forced to have lessons that a lot of us haven't. And as you said, you know, I just couldn't help but chuckle to myself when you said the gifts that you've had, that you've been so lucky that, you know, you've had all these, what other people would perceive as monstrous things happen that they never will recover from. You know, your attitude is you regard them as gifts. And they've given you some form of, you know, what does a car have on it when you slow it down? A governor. You seem to have, a lot of entrepreneurs don't have governors on them. Do you think about this when you go too fast? Do you set times to do things? How do you keep your balance? Would you share some of that with us, Patch?
The balance probably has happened because I've always liked to celebrate. So, you know, as a teenager and in my 20s, it's like, you win a race, let's have a party, right? You know, exams are finished, let's have a party. You know, we built our first club, let's have a party. So that creates an endpoint. And then holidays. You know, I tell my staff all the time, take your holidays, right? So I look forward to two things, the celebration for what I've done and my holidays. And when I get bogged down and when I get slowed down is when I haven't had enough of either one of those. Right. And so, I mean, fitness, I pretty well work out every day. Some workouts are hard, some workouts are, half an hour, not so bad, but pretty well every day. That creates a whole bunch of mental and physical energy. So that's absolutely necessary. But also knowing when I get to relax and enjoy and have fun that's not work related. And that always creates more capability to work. So you could justify just that point of view, but life isn't just about work. Life is about relationships. It's about family. It's about love. It's about friends. It's all about work. And if you don't have those things, you don't have a big enough cup to help other people fill theirs up. I just finished writing a thing called the 21-Day Leader's Guide to Persistence. And it's all about take 21 days, here's 21 minutes, and to help leaders fill up their cup because they tend to drain it. And it's just to make them take 21 minutes for themselves, right? And I think this ability to say, okay, this is my reward. We've all heard the old adage, a millionaire makes the first million to prove it to everybody else. And from then on, it's about proving it to themselves, right? What I think people should be thinking about is, what is my reward here? Psychologically, emotionally, physically. When do I get to relax? When do I get to enjoy? Do I get to read a good book? Do I get to have a good workout? Do I get to go socialize with my friends? So I think you need this reward system. The reward can't just be money. It can't be material. That gets old pretty quickly. How many cars do you really need? How big a house do you really need? Right? That gets old pretty fast. And if that's what drives you, when you get it, you kind of go, is that all there is? I think these other things are more important.
I guess this balance thing, I'm going to stay with it just a little bit, but how about we're happy to be at this particular time going through one of those, it's a pandemic, it's economic, it's medical, it's everything, but it's times that you're having, your plan is not working out right now. And that's everybody's plan on the planet almost is not working out right now. When a plan doesn't work, I think Dale Carnegie used to say, live in day-tight compartments, to forget about yesterday, forget about tomorrow, and work the best you can on today. How do you get through your day now? Because there are lots of challenges, right? How do you get through it?
I've got almost 500 fitness clubs in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and a bunch of other businesses between Europe and the United States and stuff like that. And so during COVID, they're all got hassles, all got problems, right? So that can consume every moment of my time. So what I did since the start of COVID is I've been getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning until 7:30. I am not looking at my phone. I'm not reading the newspaper. And I'm reading books that make me think big picture. I'm writing stuff down about how I can improve myself, how I can think about the world. I'm 66, so I'm thinking, okay, if you're not going to think about the big picture now, when are you going to think about it, right? So the gift of COVID has been the time to do that. I have stayed home now for, I don't know if you can see my hair, but it's gotten a little long, right? I've been home since March 13th. So that is longer in one place than I've ever been in my life. It's since I was 13 years old, right? The neat thing is I've just got to spend all that time with my wife too. So, she travels a lot too. So, we've had all that time together, and I've had time to just focus on developing myself without an interruption. So I've got 5 books that make me think in 5 different directions, but they all kind of come down to the same thing. How do you become your best you? And so I'm using this time to do that development. And then at 7:30, okay, let's join the world again.
Well, Dr. Tim, I'm going to turn it back over to you. This has been moving on great. I'm just going to go back to you for a bit.
There's a story behind that bear that's over your right shoulder and the whale. Would you mind sharing the story that goes with those two artifacts?
I live in British Columbia now, in Victoria, on the ocean. And one of the things I love to do with my daughter who has autism is we go canoeing, you know, and, you know, she's got this incredible balance. She might be having a hard day and jumping up and down the canoe, but for some reason we don't tip. But we were out here one day and I noticed there's a lot of bubbles in the water. I thought, scuba divers, that's weird. And then that whale came up, like right beside the canoe. Significantly bigger than the canoe, right? And my daughter just like, who cares? It's just a whale. There's whales all the time, right? Okay, great. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, you know, I know the whale doesn't eat canoes, but it could pretty easily, right? And so that was kind of funny. So that's why the whale's there. Then the bear is the contradiction that I am. So, you know, I'm 6'5", well, I'm probably 6'4" now, I shrunk a bit. And so you have this, you know, large person, but the bear is covered in slogans like love, peace, tranquility. So that's who I am, right? So you got the outer version and you got the inner version, right? And it's by a top French artist. And my wife and I were in Paris and I saw it in a store and I thought, I could have that bear, right? You know, and I love nature and I love the fact that it's everything combined, right? And so that's the reason for the bear.
Yeah, it's great. I love, you know, artifacts within individuals' offices like that because there's always a significant story behind it. Just unveils a lot about individuals and who they are and the character that they have and what they try to live out every day. So that's great. Patch, what's the proudest moment you've had?
One of my proudest moments, so happiest moments were probably when my two daughters were born. That's probably it was. Yeah, yeah. Then as an entrepreneur, there's been quite a few of those, like Entrepreneur of the Year, you know, Hall of Fame, Canadian Business Hall of Fame. When getting that award for autism, first non-medical doctor to get an award, the Canadian Medal of Honor for research in autism, that was a very significant thing. You know, to win one of the top icons in North America for the culture art company. You know, I take every one of these, you know, Peter mentioned, you know, almost 30 awards. They're all significant. You know, to just walk on a podium is significant. Like there's never a rowing race that I won that, you know, I was like so happy to get that medal. And there's a lot of races where I was, you know, just behind the medal. I wished I could be on that podium. Right? And so the neat thing about business is the podium stays there. You don't run out of, you know, time. As an athlete, you run out of time, you know. But in business, the more we give, the more we get back. So it's pretty cool that way, you know. And business isn't really genetic. You can make the best of your circumstances. You might be in poor circumstances and be disadvantaged for a lot of reasons, but you can be in the best in those particular circumstances compared to your peers, right? And it's usually if you can solve problems for your peers, then you can be successful. You know, I was over in Africa with the WE organization, speaking at a school that they built that we helped, you know, raise money for and stuff like that. And these young Kenyans listening to me talk about entrepreneurship. And I thought, there isn't nobody in this room that can't rock it, because what they've already overcome at 18 years of age is phenomenal, right? So here in North America, comparatively, you know, when I look at it, I had it easier, far easier than them.
Can you talk a little bit about the importance that you find as an entrepreneur in giving back to the community and the world?
I believe it's important to give back, but I don't think about it as a responsibility. In fact, as soon as I start to think about it as a responsibility, I kind of go, do I have to? Right? But I do think about it as an opportunity. Like, how could I help that person? How could I help that group? Do I have anything special that could help them? Right? And I can't help everybody, and I can't help every cause. But if there's something that resonates for me, I can. I mean, I started a kids foundation 25 years ago that we've been running a Good Life for 25 years, right? We let teenagers work on our clubs for free in the summer. And so that kids who never would get a chance to try it, get a chance, right? We give to all kinds of different charities, you know. And then I have a program at my company where my staff, we match funds when they give to charity. So they might not like the charity I want to give to. Okay, we'll give to the charity you like and we'll help you, right? We support obviously lots of fun runs and stuff like that that give money to different charities. I've never done it from the perspective, what will I get back? Right? You actually get something when you give, whether it's just an endorphin rush or just, you know, you feel good about it, you know. I tell the stories in university. The first Winter Special Olympics was happening, and I volunteered for it. So I'm working all day with this young man that had Downs, and, you know, spent the day with him. And back in my university residence, I'm telling the story about how I spent the day with him. And the girl sitting across the table from me looks at me and says, well, what was his name? I told her. She goes, that was my brother. Right? That woman became the godmother to my kids. And when I created a home learning program for my daughter who has autism, she was one of the first volunteers. You just don't know, right? So, yeah.
What are the next big accomplishments, big celebrations that you're looking forward to on the horizon?
What I'm looking forward to is understanding the meaning of life more, to tell you the truth. You know, so that's what I've really been focused on the last 3 or 4 months, along with running business. And how can I take that learning and pass it on to my 1.5 million members? So the way I took the way I benefited from fitness, changed my life around, is there something I can learn and pass it on to them? Because my role seems to be a conduit. You know, so how can I make it fit into people's organization, lives, kind of stuff like that? It's no different than what you're doing. You're sharing entrepreneurship with people. And if I can get ideas that help me grow as an individual, and I can pass them on, it's one of the benefits of membership or some other way to help people. That's more my core competency. That's the thing that makes me the happiest, is to know that I made a difference at the end of the day. You know, so that's where I'm going. That's what I want to do. And it probably fits into my time of life, right? But, you know, if I've been lucky enough to live this long and learn some stuff, I can pass that on. So like when you guys asked me to do this, it's like a great opportunity, and I'm very grateful for it.
I'm up to 2 pages now, full of notes. And when I was going to wrap, I wanted to pull out what was the most important, what I felt grasped me the most, and what would be most meaningful to pass on. There's two things I want to say that really resounded with me. First of all, is for all these entrepreneurs, as you said, when the opportunity presents itself, you must be ready. I really like that. That resonated. And the next one is, you said, find, and I add the word, and surround yourself with people that believe in you and your possibilities. Because there is no limit, as we both know, if you surround yourself with those kind of people. And I thought the wisdom patch that you shared with us there was phenomenal. As far as understanding more in life, I'm along a little bit further along the trail than you. I'm 82 and you're 66, I think you said. So a little further down that track, I think you're on that track of the meaning of life. I think you know the meaning of life, and it's the continual quest to be better, to learn, to continue that learning path and to pass on those learnings and still have an audience that you can hold in the cup of your hand like you did with us today. Patch, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your participation. I couldn't have had a better masterclass, and I'm looking forward to this being watched by millions of people. So thank you, my friend. Onwards and upwards.